Okay, good evening to all our parents and carers who are with us this evening for our Teams live meeting about the 769 and 780 bus. I thought it was worth us coming together this evening just to talk through how the situation's come about and the solutions we've managed to put in place to ensure we can get your children to and from school. And I know a lot of information has gone out already via letters, but I thought it's worth just talking through, and there'll also be an opportunity for people to ask any questions later on. The other thing we're doing as well is we're looking to see if any parents want to get in contact with one another to help share journeys, to and from school from time to time as well. So there'll be a form you can fill it in at the end as well. But I thought it was worth starting with just a quick clarification in terms of how the situation has come about. I think the first thing to say is that all buses that serve St Peter's are technically public buses and beyond the control. They seem like school buses. Technically speaking, they're actually buses that any member of the public can get on, and indeed we do get members of the public from time to time joining those buses. Throughout the pandemic, the bus companies received substantial subsidies from the government to ensure they could maintain the continuity of service. But they have noticed since schools returned fully in September 2020, there's been a reduction, a great reduction, in fact, in the number of students and the wider public using buses in general. And from this year, the subsidies have ceased, so the bus companies have been reviewing their services to see, which way and how they're going to move forward. We discovered very recently that Minibus have been monitoring bus usage throughout the year and have determined that neither the 769 nor the 780 are viable from a business point of view. I think it's fair to say we wish we'd known this beforehand, but the first we knew about this was about 4.5 weeks ago when they let us know that those buses were going to be going, left us in quite a difficult situation, and we appreciate all the support we've had from you whilst we've been trying to put together solutions for next year. So I think if we start with the 769 bus, this is probably the easiest one to talk through to start with. So the vast majority of students catching the 769 will now be served by the yellow bus, and that's a number 88. They're extending one of our current school services. The stops not being served, because they can't reach every single stop, are as follows, and that's the Hilltop Garage, Pure Drop In, Church Road as well. But in addition, Herne, St Catherine's Hill and Fairmile will not be served by the 88. They very kindly sent through a bus timetable. I have already shared this with you through the letters sent out. It's just a slightly more up-to-date one, but I think the information is exactly the same as it were before. So should you require any more information on that, please go through Yellow Buses. You can see on their websites, and they should be able to answer any questions you may have. But certainly the bus timetable is there as follows. So from the tracking data they sent us, the one area that we're struggling with at the moment is Fairmile, and I think there are about 3 or 4 students perhaps who come from the Fairmile area into school currently getting the 769. So there's a couple of options really. So in the morning, options are to take the X1, X2 into Christchurch and then transfer to a number 1 bus to get to St Peter's. I know a number of the parents from that area have been able to work out they can get their own children to school in the morning, which is hugely helpful. And I know there's at least one parent who'd appreciate some support with that as well. So if any of you who are coming from the Fairmile area are able to support, please do fill in the form at the end so we can help out there, because changing buses is not ideal, but unfortunately that's the only option we have for the morning. In the afternoon, however, we've managed to put a school minibus on that will drop students at Christchurch, so then the students can simply catch an X1 or X2 up Fairmile, which will get them home. I've put a link in there as well to the X1 timetable on the Minibus website. What I will do though is send a PowerPoint out to on all the relevant links, but there's just the route map is shown there on the screen as well. So for Fairmile, the afternoon is very straightforward. The morning is slightly more complex because it may well involve a change, but as I said, if parents can come together on that one to help out, I think the one parent who can't get their child to school in the morning other than by public transport, it'd be great if you could get in touch and we can help each other out on that one. Next up, the 780 has created more of a concern for us, I think, because there are more students affected by the change in routes. And there are 2 main locations in particular that parents have raised as a concern. These are Highcliffe and New Milton, so those stops beyond Christchurch, and also Purewell Cross as well. And although the 780 currently starts at Lymington, the data that Minibus have collected throughout the year shows it's only been used by 1 student on a handful of occasions. If this does affect your child and you haven't already been in touch, please do notify us via the chat function or contact the school. There are ways that you can get your child in still, but it will be quite complicated. So do get in touch if you need to talk through any of those solutions and we can let you know what those are. So if we look first of all at Highcliffe and New Milton, Miss Hubbard has done some sterling work in working with yellow buses to try and get a solution in place. And I'm delighted to say that the yellow buses have decided they will alter one of their 1As in the morning. So the 1A will take students directly to St Peter's. It will change to a 1 when it arrives at Christchurch. There'll be no changes required. Yellow buses have not yet updated their schedule to reflect this, but they did send through this extract from an email this afternoon. I'll just read through that to you now. So it says basically they've managed to change a 1A that departs New Milton at 7:40 and arrives at Christchurch at 8:12. This journey will show its destination as Christchurch. Once the service terminates at Christchurch, it will then become a 1 to then operate up to the school. But there are some important bits here, so please forgive me for reading through the rest of the email chain. It says, as the 1A does not fall onto the St Peter's route, we were unable to show it on the destination screen. So it is important that the students know to look for the journey with the Christchurch destination, as there will be no other distinguishing features that will make this journey stand out. So if your child's coming from New Milton or Highcliffe, they need to look out for the 1A that has the destination Christchurch that departs New Milton at 7:40, getting into Christchurch at 8:12. There's another subnote here as well. So it says it's also important to note that as this is 2 separate services and that New Milton is outside of our zone A, the best option for travel on the day is for the school child network ticket, the same ticket that they sell on the 85 and 88 buses. The driver would not be able to sell a single ticket from New Milton to the school, as St Peter's is not a point set on the registration of the 1A. So I think there's some technical reasons there, but buying the school child network ticket should resolve those. And although they haven't yet updated their website, I did notice the 1A at the moment. I've just put the current timetable up there, and we can see there's one that leaves at 7:39, so not 7:40, and that gets into Christchurch at 8:11 as opposed to 8:12. So if your child is getting a bus from or getting the 1A at various points along that stop before Christchurch, you can see roughly what time it will be getting to their bus stop. But the important thing, as I say, is to look out for the 1A with the destination as Christchurch. Now, what we've been able to do after school is to put on a minibus that will drop the students at Christchurch, and they can then simply catch a 1A, which will take them all the way home on the reverse route. It's a real shame. We really tried to work hard with yellow buses to see if they could convert one of the afternoon services as well, but they said they've been able to do that at the moment. But I don't know if parents want to write into yellow buses to see if they could consider that one, especially if we've got a number of students getting on that bus. It's something that may be able to happen in the future. And again, just on the bottom there, I have put down the bus schedules available. So you see the 1A there as well. So you click on that and it will take you to the timetable. I think one thing I would say is that it's possible to get the X1 or X2 from Christchurch at that point as well, but that will mean travelling on more bus and in the afternoon and a yellow bus in the morning. So there may well be cost implications there. So certainly the 1A seems to be a simple way to get yourselves home. So that's Highcliffe and New Milton sorted. The other place as well that people have raised is Purewell Cross. Now, in the morning, that's exactly the same as what students coming from New Milton and Highcliffe will do. It's the 1A with the Christchurch destination that will be able to take them in. Just on the map here of Christchurch, I'm not sure if you can see my pointer on the screen, but where it's hovering at the moment is where the Purewell Cross stop is. The number 1 bus stop is here, so it's just down the road. So the 1A will take students directly to St Peter's, as I said. This is probably more relevant for the afternoon. If there is capacity for students travelling to Purewell Cross on our minibus, we will allow them on board and we'll be able to then drop them at Christchurch. They can catch the 1A. But if there's not capacity on this minibus, and the reason here is we have to prioritise those students who live further away, but if there's not capacity, they'll be able to catch the number 1 to the Two Rivers Meet Centre, which you can see just below the Christchurch on the picture there on the screen. And it's then about a 10-minute walk. So it's just about half a mile to Purewell Cross. So that's an option for students. They could, of course, then catch a 1A from there. But hopefully we'll be able to get those students on the minibus, but we don't know if that's possible at the moment. It's only a 17-seater. And as I say, we do need to prioritise the other students first. And what I have put on there again is the 2 links to the timetable, so you can look through those at your leisure after the meeting today. So hopefully that's relatively clear what we're doing with Purewell Cross. We do want to do everything we can to get our students to school and from school, but please bear with us as we're working out the final elements of this. Just to say about the minibus again, so we will prioritise the students who need it most the first, so that's Fairmile, Highcliffe and New Milton. We're going to run that minibus free of charge for the first half term. We will then assess if it is required and how much it will cost us to run, and we will then charge parents an amount to cover costs and the upkeep of the vehicle with a view to continuing that onwards in the future. So that's something we do want to do, certainly as we see how viable it is. So hopefully you'll be able to let us know how that's all going as the term progresses on. What I'd like to do now is, like I said, it's a very brief meeting we're having today. So there is a link to a form if you wanted to join in that one. The form is for those parents who either wish to link up with other parents in the area to car share, but also if they want to book a place on that afternoon minibus. So you've got two ways you can access the form. There's the link there on the screen, but you can also use your smartphone to hover over that QR code, which will take you to the link as well. We've now got an opportunity for any questions, so if anybody's got any questions, I invite you to write them into the box on the screen and we can deal with those as we go forward. So please take your time, write them in, and my colleagues will show me what they are and we'll attempt to answer them all as they come up. Yeah, there's a question there about whether the presentation will be posted on the website. We will send a link for this one out to all the parents at school, so please look out for that, and that will be sent out tomorrow, because I'm aware not all parents could be here today. Okay, we're just waiting for any questions that may come in. If you don't have any questions, please feel free to leave. Like I say, we'll be posting the presentation and I'll be sending the PowerPoint version of it as well, so you've got access to all the links as well. So if you've got no further questions, thank you so much for giving up your time this afternoon, but do feel free to stay on if you have any questions for us. Even if you wanted to just type a question in the box and you want us to contact you, just leave a mobile number there. We can give you a call back if you think the question is only pertinent to yourselves. It's hard to know, yeah. So the question about expected numbers for the minibus, it's hard to know exactly. We believe there are about 3 or 4 families from Fairmile. We've also then got a number of families from New Milton and Highcliffe, so that could be, you know, maybe 10, 11, 12. So there may well be space for some students from Pure Well Cross, but we don't know that exactly at the moment. I think we've got a couple more questions coming in. Just look at those now. The question there about Ferndown High Street, not on the map, so we will check that and get back to you. So we know the bus certainly does go to Ferndown. It's whether it goes to Ferndown High Street. We will check that for you and get back to you on that one.
Stop at Fry's House and move on to non-published stops.
I think some of the questions coming in are quite technical, so what we will do is as we send the PowerPoint presentation out, we'll include the questions and any responses we got to them as well, but we can go to yellow buses to get clarification on some of those. I believe some of the questions are, will the bus be stopping in between the stops which are on the timetable? Will they actually stop at once in between that? So we'll check that. So I've got something here saying the Wimborne goes via Coal Hill. I don't know if that helps. Don't know if that helps or not. But like I say, if we haven't really answered your question properly, do just, you know, leave us a message there on the Q&A box and we can get back to you and we can contact you directly with that as well. So the question about has the school considered the school minibus to carry on to New Milton for those living far away? It's a challenging one, that one. We did consider it. It's a question of capacity within our team. This has all come to us very, very late in the day. And obviously we need to make sure that, you know, any service we run we can sustain. I know what some schools have done in this situation where they've had more time to prepare for this would be to employ casual drivers, and that's something we could look at. There's probably the issue then we need to look at leasing newer minibus for those as well. So At the moment, it's not something we're looking to do, but if there is real demand for that and certainly the capacity to do that, and we can run that sustainably, it is something we could consider in the future. But at the moment, we're just looking to drop at Christchurch. Yeah, question about the costs, about the cost of the yellow buses. Indeed, I'll go onto the yellow bus website to see that. If the question is about the cost of the minibus past half term, obviously we're not going to know that until we get there. We need to, so we'll be monitoring how much petrol and fuel we use and so on, and we all know how much that costs at the moment. But we'll be certainly keeping that to a minimum. We'll be just charging to cover costs when it does get to that point, but we don't know what that is yet. So the drop off for the minibus, at the moment, we're looking for the best way to do that as the quick as possible for students and for the school as well. We're thinking we're probably going to drop the students at the Marks and Spencer's car park in Christchurch, so we don't have to go over the Fountain Roundabout, so we can make sure we get them there quicker, because we know how busy the traffic can get there. And then they just walk through the car park and they will be able to get the bus outside Marks and Spencer's and the other establishments that are there. There's a question about bus subsidies. We don't have any bus subsidies here, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. Okay, I think some people may have come in a little bit late to miss the 769 info. I'm happy to go through that again now very briefly, if people would like, whilst other questions are coming in. So I'll just flick back through my presentation. So the 769, just to recap on this, the vast majority of students catching the 769 will now be served by the yellow bus 88. We have already sent this information out, but there's the timetable again, or the schedule for the bus, just in a slightly different format to how it was sent in the letter. There are certain stops not being served, and they are as follows. That's the Hilltop Garage, which is Ferndown Industrial Estate, Pure Drop In, and Church Road, Victoria Road. In addition, Herne, St Catherine's Hill and Fairmile will not be served by the 88 because it picks up the current 88 service at that point. If you've got any questions on that, you can get in touch with the yellow buses and they will explain that for you. The main area I think that's caused concern for some parents are those travelling from Fairmile, and I think we've got 3 or 4 families coming from that area. So the options there are to take an X1 or X2 into Christchurch and then catch a 1 to St Peter's. In the afternoon, the school minibus will be dropping students off at Christchurch, and then the students will be able to get the X1, X2 back home. I know most of the families in Fairmile have been able to arrange a lift in the mornings to avoid that, which is fantastic. But I know there's at least one family there who would appreciate joining in that car share opportunity as well. So if you're able to help that, please do fill in the form we got at the end of the website, at the end of the presentation, sorry, and that will show you exactly how to leave those details, and we can put those parents in contact with one another. I think there's a question coming in about whether we'll help the children getting on the right bus at Christchurch. I understand some of you may be worried, especially if you've got a child coming into year 7 and so on. It's certainly something we could do maybe for the first couple of days, but beyond that, we'll let the children go. Then Christchurch is much quieter, as I'm sure you're aware, than catching a bus at Bournemouth or Poole. So there are limited buses there, but certainly we'd happily help with that for the first day or two. Send a member of the leadership team, possibly, just to make sure everybody gets on board okay. But I'm sure your children will soon gain the resilience to be able to make sure they get the right bus on the way home. So like I say, I would encourage you to fill the form in. So the form, that's the links on your screen at the moment. You need to fill that in if you wish to get the minibus at the end of the day. You just put down your child's name and you put in the area which your child needs to get to at the end of the day. And also there's a selection there if you want to, look to car share or from time to time with other parents as well. So I would recommend you fill that in. If people came to the presentation a bit late, just to say as well, we will be sending the link to the live event out to all parents at school so they can look through. And we'll also, within the email where we send out that link, we'll also be going through all the questions that come in today and with the answers as well. And I think there's one or two, we're still just trying to find a bit of information about the 88 bus, but we may need to just put that in the email that we'll send out tomorrow on that. And perhaps if the person who wrote the question in about the 88 would like just to put their name and contact number there, it might be easier for us to get back to you directly on that one as well. If you just put that in the Q&A box, we can go from there. And I think that's the question about Ferndown on the 88. Okay, I think we're probably just nearing an end to the questions. I will say where school doesn't return for most students until either the Monday or Tuesday, 5th or 6th of September, we will be back in school as a leadership team before that. We've got the GCSE and A-level results days, and we've got some inset days as well. So it's an opportunity for us to get in touch again, although the school does close from tomorrow afternoon. And we will be checking, on any questions that come in on this after that as well. And we'll get back to you before the end of the school holidays, and we'll go from there. Okay, any more questions? Okay. There's, I think it's still about 10 parents still on, so we're happy to stay for a bit longer. I think we'll just give it another minute or so, and then after that, we'll just end the presentation. Okay, there's a question about asking the diocese, is that for supports with it? We can certainly ask the question. We have made the diocese aware of the situation. I have to be honest, I wouldn't be too hopeful they'd be able to provide that, because they'd have to provide that for every single school, but we can certainly ask the question. Okay, I think we're just answering one last question online. I think it was a question pertinent to one particular family. So I know Ms. Hubbard's just doing a response to that. I think after that we'll end our presentation. Okay, yeah. So as I say, we will be sending out all the information tomorrow, going from there. But thank you all so much for giving up some of your time this evening. I hope it's been useful for you, and I'd like to wish you and your families a very, very happy, peaceful and blessed summer holidays. Take care and goodbye. Thank you.